upon a time, my seam ripping skills really came in handy. Allow me to explain. The unluckiest girl in the world, that's me! One summer when I was in high school, I decided to work backstage on the summer show that my local children's theater company was doing. They were doing Shrek the Musical, and I've never seen the Shrek movies, so I was actually very excited to see what all the fuss was about with this particular storyline. But I never found out. When Tech Week, or Hell Week, arrived, and my services were actually required, I was never given an actual job or assignment. I just kind of did everything. Sometimes I was operating the fly system, sometimes I was painting sets, sometimes I was building props, and sometimes I was sorting gel frames for lights. Believe it or not, it was actually the gel frames that did me in. One afternoon during Tech Week, I was sorting gel frames and I happened to drop one. Without thinking, I reached to catch it and it swung around my thumb and hit the floor. I thought, aw, rats. It would have been really cool if I had caught that. And I bent to pick it up off the floor. And then I thought, you know, my hand kind of hurts. By the time I looked down, there was already blood all over the floor. I cupped my left hand underneath my right so I wouldn't get blood all over the stage as I ran out of the wings to where people could actually see me. The stage manager was sitting in the audience, and for the sake of the story, we will call her Susan. So I tentatively went out on stage and said, Susan? She thought I was interrupting for no good reason, so she replied with a, "What, Gwendolyn?" And then one of the actors looked over at me and said, we're gonna need a first aid kit. Now? Next thing I knew, I was outside trying not to bleed on the concrete while stage moms did their best to patch me up. I had driven myself to this rehearsal, but now that I had cut my hand open, I couldn't drive myself to the hospital, so I had to call my mom and wait for her to come pick me up. With my luck, it's not surprising, but I had managed to injure myself at peak traffic hour. So what is normally a 10 to 15 minute drive from my house took my poor mother an hour. And then it was another hour back to urgent care. So about 2 hours after I cut my hand open, I get to the doctor's office. They start looking at my hand, and as soon as they take the bandages off, it starts bleeding again. This is not usually a good sign. And I know that. And the doctor confirmed my suspicions. I needed stitches. He used a local anesthesia, and I watched as he put 6 stitches in my hand. It was honestly fascinating. When he had finished, the doctor told me that I needed to come back in a couple weeks to get the stitches taken back out. But I informed him that I was going out of town at that point, so I asked what I should do instead. He studied me like he was weighing his options, and then he turned and opened a drawer behind him and pulled out a neatly packaged scalpel. He brought it over to me and said, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do," and gave me a crash course in removing stitches. And a couple weeks later, that's exactly what I did. With help from my father, I removed my own stitches in a hotel room somewhere in Oregon. When all is going wrong and you're scared as hell, what you gonna do, who you gonna tell? Maybe 100 bad days made 100 good stories. 100 good stories made me interesting at parties. 100 bad days made 100 good stories. 100 good stories made me interesting at parties. Yeah, no, I ain't scared of you.